Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are lucky enough to be here for our June 2018 Tabs3 Virtual User Group meeting, where today we are talking about the secret to printing an outstanding checklist without reconciling, and DFICs. What are they? What do they mean? What do those letters stand for? Mary Jo's going to talk to you about the outstanding checklist. I am going to talk to you about DFICs. And so now, without any further ado, I am going to press all the magic buttons that will get me out of the presentation or the slide deck and take us over to Tabs, where Mary Jo will take over and hopefully get us to the right place. Where do you go for this thing, Mary Jo?
Well, we're going to go over to General Ledger first off. And I'm just going to just give you a very, very quick recap of when you're getting outstanding checks. A lot of people, the only way they know to do this is to actually start a reconciliation, even if they're not going to actually do a reconciliation, and say, okay, get into it. And of course, I don't want to confirm any of these. This is test data, so who knows what it is. But they would just open one, and then you can print from here and get the outstanding transactions. So I've just opened one like I pretended I was going to do a reconciliation. I'm really not. But I'm just going to preview this, and of course it will give me, as long as I have that include that outstanding checks, they're going to be down here, and I have all those outstanding checks listed out right here. So this has always been there. This is the way a lot of people, they just know how to do this. Well, this other thing I'm going to show you has always been there too, but a lot of people just didn't know that you could also see them this other way. So always can still do the reconciliation, just fake it out, print that list, get out and postpone. You can change those settings later to get your actual reconciliation numbers and dates in there. It's just starting one to print. But what is really cool is we don't have to go through all those steps at all. We can just go into our journal report and you can get that. So I'm going to go over to our reports, and there is a actual journal report here. So
you're still in General Ledger, right?
General Ledger.
Because when I think of checks, I think of accounts payable.
Yeah, a lot of people do. They think I'm just going to go get my check register, and that's going to show me those outstanding checks. And it doesn't work as like you would think it would over on a check register. That's over in accounts payable. But in General Ledger, I'm going to a journal report. I could give it a date range, but in this case, if I'm looking for outstanding checks, they could be quite old. And I'm in test data, so it says 2014. But I don't know how old those checks are, what date range they're going to fall in. So I'm just clearing those dates out of here. So I want nothing there. I could choose the bank account that I want to do this for. So in this case, I'm just going to go for the operating account. So I have my operating account. I have my date range left open. And then when I go to my options, I'm going to tell it that I want the record status. I'm going to be specific. And I want to choose outstanding. So what I've done is I've chosen the account I want to look up. I've left the date range blank. And then I've got my options. The record status is specific. I'm selecting outstanding only. Now, you could also further refine this if you wanted to, but in this case, that's all I really want. I want these outstanding checks. My format, I can decide what information about those outstanding checks that I want to see. Maybe I want the date entered, who entered it, things like that. You can check and uncheck what you want or don't want. And then you can sort this by date or any of these first, second, third sort orders as well. Now, when I print this and preview it, now I'm going to get a list of all of those outstanding checks or deposits that are out here, any outstanding items that I have. So again, I didn't start a reconciliation. I just came in and I found all of these different journal entries. I can even see what the other side of those entries are if I need to, but this is all of the things that have come in, and then I can drill right down into those transactions as well if I wanted to. So this gives me all those outstanding items just from the journal report. You can print, save, do whatever you want at that point, and you have that list at hand. Paul?
Very good. So I guess both places that you would do it, the one that's obvious, the reconciliation, and the one that's not so obvious, are in General Ledger. Who would have thunk it? I thought accounts payable was where all that stuff lived. I'm going to talk about data file integrity checks. there, I've said it. DFIC stands for Data File Integrity Check. Why would you want to do these? When do you do them? What do they tell you? Well, we recommend that you do a DFIC, a Data File Integrity Check, in each program about once a month. Now, if you get done with your month end and you let people back into the software and you forgot to do a certain DFIC in, let's say, General Ledger, it's not a big deal if it goes another month. But the data file integrity checks basically look at everything about your data and tries to find any problems that can be identified. So for instance, if you've got bad data or a corrupted file, that's going to come out in the data file integrity check. But if you've got records that should be linked to other types of records, if you've got a payment that doesn't have a corresponding ledger record, or you've got some reconciliation or some receipt allocation information that's not properly tied to the ledger, or you've got fees that are supposed to be task-based, you know, with the L and the A codes or with the phase and activity codes, but they aren't. They're regular old fees. Those sorts of things are going to come through in a data file integrity check, and the report that you get will let you go right to the problem record and fix it, or at the very least will give you an indication of where to go to fix that. So how do you do this? Well, it's under utilities. It's going to be under utilities in each program. So there's data file integrity checks for tabs, AP, GL, Trust. Is there one? There's one in Practice Master too. There's one in Practice Master. There's actually two in tabs, and I'm noticing Mary Jo's.
Well, I just wanted to say that sometimes the maintenance utilities tab is combined. So you may have in some of the programs, it'll say maintenance/utilities or something.
Now what Mary Jo's referred to is the tabs. Okay, so like this is exactly what she's talking about. You will find DFIC under the utilities maintenance. I was talking about the menu item, but that's a good point because they don't always line up right. So it's always going to be on the utilities menu item, and it'll either be on a utilities or utilities maintenance tab within the task folders. So if we go into data file integrity check, it's pretty straightforward. The first thing it's going to do is tell me that no system is foolproof, so you shouldn't use this as your only method to determine if you've got a problem with your data. But then it brings me here. And really all I have to do is say, okay. And when I do, it goes through all the files and I've got 9 errors. You'd think that we planned this, but no, we didn't. So let's go look. What are the 9 errors? After you do a data file integrity check that has errors, you will be prompted to either print a report or preview it. Now, if you preview that report, there's a good chance that you'll be able to drill right down to the record that's got a problem by clicking on the highlighted number, or sometimes it's a client number, or sometimes it's a reference number. Here it's a sequence number. So if I wanted to go look at this one particular deposit slip that's got a mismatch, all I would have to do is click there, and it'll bring up the exact record and let me make a correction to it. Now, Mary Jo, do you want to jump in and tell me what really should be the problem here?
So you can go back to, all right, so let's just see anatomy of a data file integrity check error report. The first line is always going to be how many errors that you have. So it's just counting them. So it said on our little message that there was 9 errors. So we have 9, and these are the 9 that it was referring to. The second number is the error code itself, and that's important. We need to know what the error code is so that we know how to fix it. Now, usually a deposit slip mismatch, because this is here, this is test data, and so somebody may have imported bank transactions, and so the deposit slip doesn't match like an imported deposit that was at the bank, so it's saying that there was a mismatch. But if I didn't know that, I could go look up this error code 45, and I could find out how to fix it. Well, first what it is, and then how to fix it. And then it will always tell me what file it's in. That next column is also important. What file is this affecting? And this is deposits. Sometimes that might say client, or it might say fee, calendar, or fee, exactly. And then even what field what account, if there is one. So this right now is a bank account, so this is bank account 1110, but if this were in tabs, this might be a client ID, and again, there might be a reference. So my guess is on this one, because it's a deposit slip mismatch, this is something with imported bank transactions. But again, if I didn't know that, I can go into help knowledge base and I can look up what that error is.
Now, they're pointing down at the bottom here to this article.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the article that lists all the codes? Let's go in here.
Yeah, it may, yes.
So this was error 40? Oh,
yeah, you're in tabs.
I'm in tabs,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So just scroll down. And
I think I was coming from GL, right?
Yep, you're in GL, and so 45.
And there it is.
Yep.
So we want to know more about it, and there it is.
Yep. And so that's telling us the summary, error 45 indicates that the balance of a specific deposit slip does not match the total associated journal entries of that deposit slip. So whatever that would be, so maybe it's not an import, I don't know, but that's just test data, so something has went on with that, and then it gives you the resolution and how to fix it.
Exactly. They're telling you here how to drill down by clicking on the sequence number, and then what to look for and how to solve it. Now, obviously, the purpose of this is not to tell you every error you could encounter and what its resolution is.
Right, that could be a lot.
Yeah. But the point is that there's a link right here. You can hover over this link that's at the bottom of every data file integrity check, click on it, go to that interactive article that we were just on right here, find your error, and then click on the error number, and you'll be taken straight to something to help you resolve it.
And sometimes there may be multiple errors, so you may have to look up
Exactly. You may have to look up a lot of different things. Now, something to understand is that a DFIC error could be very important, and it could be just a warning. For instance, if it tells you that you've got a client or a matter set up to be task-based billing, but it found some fees for that matter that aren't task-based, well, that's not the end of the world. It's not going to keep you from updating your software. It's not going to keep you from doing a lot of things, but you can be assured that if you try to go print a bill for that client, you're going to run into trouble because they're set up as a task-based client, and you've got some fees in there that aren't task-based. So, and you may be wondering, well, how could you possibly have fees that are not task-based if you've set the client up as task-based? Well, what usually happens in the insurance defense firms that are dealing with this is the matter gets set up, people start to enter fees, and then accounting comes along and says, oh, wait a minute, this is a task-based matter, and they change it. Now, a couple things to understand here when we come in. I'm going to get out of here and go back into the DFIC. It is something where you have to have everybody out of the program. Mary Jo, is it super exclusive or just exclusive? Exclusive? Super exclusive. It's super exclusive. So what that means is everybody's got to be out of everything. They can't.
Okay, I misunderstood what you were saying there. So some of them are super exclusive and some of them aren't.
Some of them are. It depends on which program you're in.
Yeah, so Tabs and Practice Master and Trust all are kind of shared, so everybody needs to be out of all three of those.
Gotcha.
But AP and GL, if people are in Tabs or those others, you can still run them.
Okay,
yeah.
Good point. Good to know. Now, Tabs also has, well, let me finish my thought. So if we go into Data File Integrity Check and go by this message, you'll notice that there's a read-only option. And what the read-only option does is, I should tell you, it does not check for every possible error. The most complete and most thorough DFIC is going to be without read-only checked. But if you need to check something, let's say whether or not you got all the fees that were supposed to be task-based, you can run the read-only without kicking people out. And of course, I wouldn't have given it as an example, the fees for task-based, non-task-based fees for task-based clients is one of those that's going to show up on a read-only report. If you do not check read-only, then when you go to do it, if there's people in the system, it's going to either, if you've got Platinum, it's going to give you the opportunity to log them out safely. If you don't, it's just going to tell you you have to get these people out before you can run this. So keep that in mind. Now, the other thing about a read-only is that you saw how I was in the DFIC report, previewing it on the screen, and I could click on the sequence number and drill down to the data. You do not get that when you're running in a read-only mode, because you can't really correct the errors while people are in the system, at least most of them. So you really don't want to run it read-only unless you specifically have a reason to do that. But if you do, that's how you check that. And that is it. How often do you run them? Every month is fine. How long did they take? Well, probably the longest one, especially as a firm grows and grows and adds more and more fees that are eventually billed. The longest one is probably the Tabs3 archive data file integrity check. And so that brings me to another point. There are 2 DFICs in Tabs. If we go over to the utilities maintenance here, we will find a data file integrity check and an archive data file integrity check. They separate these for a couple reasons. A, this one could take a long time to run, but since it's archive data, it's not nearly as important. And in fact, if you ran it last month, the only thing that you really want to check for errors is the stuff that's been added. And so if you miss a couple months, it's not nearly as drastic as missing this one and potentially exposing your system to incorrect data or something that's going to create a problem later on. So I would recommend running them every month as part of your month-end routine. If you are getting people out of the software to do other things like update statements and all the other things that you need to get people out of the software for, you might as well do the DFICs while you're there. Now, keep in mind, if you run a DFIC and then at the very end, it gives you that little chance to print out the report, it is not going to let people back in until you've gotten past that. Now, I'm not going to do it here because I don't know how long it's going to take in Tabs, but I'm going to go back to AP or GL. And so I'm going to go back up here and do a DFIC. And I'm just going to show you that if we think that we're going to run one of these and then go away, and when it's done, people will be allowed back in, that's not true. It's not until you've gone through here and either printed or previewed the report or just exited out. If somebody were to try and get into GL or AP right now, it would not let them in because it still thinks that we're in the middle of doing this DFIC.
And one thing too, if you don't think that you're going to be able to get to those errors right now or whatever, you can print these to a file as well, to a PDF, and print it later, or you can print it out if it's, if it's really long. Sometimes we have them that the data file integrity has a ton of errors on it. Just print it to a file, and you can always come back to it, get out of it, and let people back in, and then we can get back and review it. And a lot of the errors you can fix. As long as you know what they are and where to go.
Exactly.
It's just, but you want to let people and users back in.
Yeah, you need to get people back in. But at the same time, if you're trying to fix them in that interactive mode, it's nice to be able to preview it and drill down to the errors. So that's that. That's DFICs. And I forgot to mention at the top of the hour that version 19 is almost here. In fact, next month, we are going to talk about version 19 all VUG long, all virtual user group meeting long. So Mary Jo and I will do we're going to work our way through the what's new list as quick as we can, passing back and forth episode, if you will, next month in July. So we will work all the way through all the changes that affect Tabs, AP, GL, and Trust in our Tabs3 virtual user group meeting next month. If you want version 19, you can get it right now. All you need to do is go to tabs3.com/pre-release, and there will be a form to sign up to get the pre-release. It's still in a pre-release state, but you can fill that form out and sign the contract or the agreement and fax it back or email it back, and you could be playing with version 19 that day. Okay, so it's quite possible to be able to get on version 19 right now. But prepare yourselves because it'll be rolled out to the general public sometime over the course of the next several months. So that brings me to next month. It's all about version 19. So be sure to come back next time and see what's new. See what's new in version 19. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not take you to attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice my emphasis on that last S in the word systems. Without it, you won't get to the right place. If you click on videos, you will be taken to a place that describes all of our content. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. And so you are currently in the Tabs3 virtual user group meeting. We also have Practice Master and World Docs virtual user group meetings. And we have our live coffee pot webinars each month where I invite somebody in from another company that has a product that adds value to either Tabs3 or Practice Master or World Docs. These are all live. These two titles are filmed. They're pre-recorded. Mary Jo has her 3 e-bites that she records each month, one for Tabs, one for Practice Master, and one for World Docs. And the Paul and Mary Jo Show is kind of like an enhanced version of that, where we take what we would normally take 2 or 3 minutes to cover an e-bite topic. We might take 10, 15, 20 minutes to cover a topic that requires greater detail, greater explanation, a little deeper dive in the Paul and Mary Jo Show. The live events, if you click on more info, you will also see registration info for the next live event. So here's our July, all about version 19. And you'll find a description of the user group meetings in general. And then as you scroll down, you'll find recorded versions of everything we've ever done. This is the one you're currently in, so it's currently in post-production. It's not out on the site yet. Here's the one from last month, and as we scroll down, they're all over the place here. And be sure to also understand that you can type a word up here, and you can search for maybe emailing statements, and get a list of all the webinars and virtual user group meetings that have the word email in their description. So a lot of content out there. There's about 800 videos, 850 videos across those 6 titles. Please take advantage of them. They're there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, ready for you to sit back with a glass of wine and enjoy. So do that. We'll see you guys next month. Have a good rest of the day, a good rest of the month, and we will see you in July. Thanks much. Bye-bye.